think the concept of an album is hurting music. It's clear listening to certain artists' discographies that they had one idea and they should have called it there. Clearly, these musicians have nothing to say, or they have one thing to say. One conceptual concept. All of their songs sound the same, and they're pretty boring. One artist that comes to mind is Taylor Swift. I remember the first time that I heard Shake It Off. I was driving in the car, or actually my friend was driving me, and I was like, oh my god, I remember this song. Like, it gives me such nostalgia. And she was like, what are you talking about? This song just came out, like, last week. And I was like, oh. If she gets something out of making music, I mean, who am I to say don't make this music? But I think there are a lot of people who might have been happier if they could just call it at one song and like that was their album. What if an album could just be one song? It could just be like, yeah, this is my album. This is my body of work. It's my corpus. But we don't do that, and so like in order to be a real musician, you need to like produce a bunch of songs around the same time and then release them and be like, yeah, I made all of these songs because I was like really inspired. I feel like most albums don't really need to be released as an album. Like there are one or two good songs on most albums. I can think of like, I'm sure there are more, but I can think of like one album that deserves to be an album. There are definitely more, but like the one that comes to mind is The Black Parade. Or is it Welcome to the Black Parade, or is that the song? Either way, that is an album where the songs all do have a purpose. If we weren't so tied to the concept of the album, people could just work on better singles. They could still be considered musicians, but maybe they're a different kind of musician. You have pop musicians, you have folk musicians, classical musicians. Now we could have a new distinction. It's like a poem versus a novel. The musicians that release albums are like the novelists of the music world. I don't think everyone needs to be an album writer. I'm kind of sick of going to a party and I'm like, yeah, I like that band, but really I only like a few songs because like objectively most of the other songs are bad. Like we're talking about the objective truth here. And then people are like, oh, do you know this song? And I'll be like, no. And then they think I'm a fake fan. What? Clearly, these people are just trying too hard to look deep. If you listen to noise music, for example, if you listen to something that's really hard to listen to, you probably are doing it to prove a point to the world. Another thing that I find kind of insufferable is sitting through a jazz performance. I know it's supposed to be the exploration of like musical concepts, or I don't know. I actually don't really know anything about jazz. Maybe if I knew more about it, I would like it, but I would prefer just to continue disliking jazz. This is an anti-experimentation YouTube channel. Today is the 4th of July. Did we really need that many patriotic songs saying basically the same exact thing like over and over again? Like every patriotic song sounds exactly the same. Just pick the best one and release it as a single. Patriotic music is a monolith. This is gonna look really good in real life. Something I've realized is that nothing really matters. I also had this realization in college, but then after college I was like, oh, gotta get serious. Like obviously things matter, like, When I was in college, I got really obsessed with shit posting on the internet. I was like, oh my god, I'm so mad that the world doesn't care about me and that, like, life turned out to be a disappointment and, like, yeah, the world doesn't care about you. Actually, that's, like, the sad truth of reality is that, like, you know, people don't care about you. People don't care about your stupid album. You're probably just getting, like, pity listens. Do I mean this, or am I just in a bad mood? I'm actually not even in a bad mood. I was in a bad mood for like 2 weeks when I realized that like this person that I was dating doesn't really like me that much. It was emotional torture. It was literally like so bad. But then I reached this place where I was like, oh wow, like he doesn't care. Why would I even want to be with someone who like doesn't care about me? Like that's what I liked about him in the first place. Now it's super one-sided, so So I think we shouldn't have albums anymore. But, you know, my point still stands. I don't think people should be obligated to, like, write albums. Why is there a shame in being a one-hit wonder? Like, it's still a wonder. You think that the Romans that built the Colosseum were not a one-hit wonder of the world producer? Like, they were. Because, like, it took so much time. Like, one-hit wonders might be focused on something else. Like, why, you know, why do they have to be focused on, like, producing music? They're still a musician. You can be into experimental music, I guess, but, like, you know, I don't believe you.